How do you cope with the fact that we are all going to die? I do not fear death. I had been dead for billions and billions of years before I was born and had not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it. Mark Twain. Someone replied, I used to want to live forever. Then my son died from cancer 5 years ago and now I don't. I still live for myself, my wife, my surviving son, but I don't fear death. But death was sweet, death was gentle, death was kind, death healed the bruised spirit and the broken heart, and gave them rest and forgetfulness. Death was man's best friend. When man could endure life no longer, death came and set him free. Mark Twain. Edit. Updated the quote as it got cut off the first time. Also, thank you for the kind words. Certainly 5 years later we are so much better than we were. Family tragedy can be a great way to learn that most everyday problems are solvable, especially if everyone chooses to come together. Obviously life will never be the same, but my son's path was a very rich evolution of crises, victories, and then peace and relief. Don't be afraid to have children, because you fear they might die. My son was an insanely bright star like all children, both a little angel and a damned devil at times, and both his aspects make us smile now. Someone else replied, I know everyone is going to say this because, you know, what else can we say about a tragic loss like all of y'all have endured? But I truly am sorry for your loss. No parent should have to endure that. I don't back quote T. Someone replied, oh boy, here comes the existential dread again. When I was like 5 I used to think about it all the time. Then I realized there's no point worrying about the inevitable. Now I just hope I don't suffer very long in the process. I'm not afraid of death at all. I'm more afraid of my body becoming useless and losing my mind. Nothing you can do to stop it. No sense worrying about what you can't change. Someone replied, this old professor used to say something like the death rate is 100%. So all you can do is choose how to spend the time you do have. Don't waste it worrying about what you can't change. What's to cope with? One day you'll rejoin the universe's star stuff. It's not really something I've had to cope with because I'm not really worried about it. I'm not worried about the end because I'm too busy dealing with the now, trying to get a handle on everyday life things while also trying to make good memories. I see it as a great benefit. A small or big mistake is only a blip on the map of life. I overspent on a new car. Shit, oh well, when I'm 6 feet under it won't matter. It's comforting really. Who wants to live forever if love must die? What used to bother me about dying was the image of my body 6 feet underground as the rest of the world above me kept going. It made me sad to know people would just keep laughing and enjoying life as I just stayed in eternal darkness. Then I realized those above ground are just living their short lives too. Eventually we are all going to be together in whatever comes after life. Somehow the knowledge that the whole human race will be together eventually kind of brings me comfort. Sure, we're all going to the unknown, but we are all crossing that path together. Someone replied, can I just say, this comment makes me really happy. I somewhat recently just realized my former religion isn't true, and I've been so freaked out about death that it's been really hard to get back to living normally. But the idea that we all still get to be together makes me really happy. It's comforting. Soon, this will all be over. Death is something we think happens to others, which is why it's so emotional for us. Acceptance is the last stage of death. Someone replied, what if it isn't? That's what scares the shit out of me. Not existing anymore, who cares? But to think I will spend the last few seconds of my life scared and not wanting to go and being full of regret is what freaks me out. I just want it to be peaceful at the end. Someone else replied, death will be like before you were born. Before your first memory. Did you feel happy? Sad? Did you feel bored in the hundreds, tens of thousands, billions or trillions years before you gasped your first breath? No. And believe it. Trillions and trillions and trillions of years will pass after you die. Help me. I live with this dread every waking second. This doesn't seem like it should be possible. Existence doesn't seem possible asterisk QE crazy pinboard meme trying to explain why this shit is whack. Meditation. The pure consciousness within us never truly dies, it appears in everything. Honestly, death to me is fascinating. If there is nothing, well then I'll have a nice nappy. But if there is something, then I'll take it head on with a smile on my face, if that's even possible. Someone replied, I like this. I had a discussion about this with friends at a bar one night and came to the conclusion that if we all go nowhere, at least we'll all be nowhere together. I hate that Mark Twain quote. Every time someone brings up the topic, someone quotes Mark Twain, and let me tell you, Mark Twain was wrong. Because death is different to where you were before. Because you didn't live before. You didn't have experiences before you were born. You didn't have loved ones. You didn't create something. You didn't love, cry, make a pretty great spaghetti bolognese. You didn't share memories, toured with your band, had awesome sex, and kissed a girl on the forehead. But now you have done all these things. So fuck you, Mr. Mark Twain. Everything alive will die, even some single cell organisms that will live, after billions of splits, till the end. As for me, I worry that people will think I was a messy housekeeper. Optimistic nihilism. Nihilism is the belief that life is overall pointless. Throw some optimism up in there, and you have the perfect mindset. Yes, we are all going to die. No, there is no guarantee of consciousness after death. No, this universe was not made for us. Anyway, the optimism part, if all the bad things that ever happened to you are just forgotten when you die, then why should you care now? So what if a crush rejects you? So what if you are embarrassed in front of your friends? So what if this assignment is really difficult? It's not like you're gonna care when you're dead, so why should you now? I'm not very good at wording deep shit like this, but I hope someone gets it. Death has been walking with us, stalking us since day one. Fear is the first enemy and old age the last, couple others in between. Where there is fear, there is no love. I don't feel the need to cope, unless you associate the practice of coping with interpretation of logic. It is the natural cycle of conscious life. Besides, I would rather die at 80, as opposed to living a demoralizing eternity. In one way of thinking, I find the transient/temporal state of being to be incredibly refreshing. Life would not be such a special, amazing wonder if we could waste all of time. What would press us to create our own internally valuable experiences if we could always delay until later? I think the incentive of experience is the mere fact of temporal passing, the handoff that is the chain of generations of life and wonder of new creation. Life simply wouldn't need to create anything without the cosmic deadline of passing, and it would be a less interesting world as a result. P.S. I think the thing after this is nothingness. The universe has its cycle just like us. When a sun explodes, it doesn't go to heaven. A black hole might be the most permanent thing out there. PSS. Stone cold sober all day, all week, all month. For the inevitable retort. LA I can't hear you. I get excited for it. Hopefully reincarnation exists, and my next life is better than this one. I might even get a girlfriend in my next run through. This universe obviously doesn't exist for no reason. Do you seriously expect to just cease existing when you die? In a universe where we only have 5 senses and perceive time in a straight line, who's to say there is no greater domain to ascend with 50 senses and 5 dimensions? Until the day you completely understand existence will you be truly dead. But right now, we don't even know what happens upon death. Anyways, even if we just cease existing upon death, then it's still a win-win scenario. You either don't cease existing and ascend elsewhere, or your existence was pointless, and we will all just be better off in eternal rest. Someone replied, the universe obviously might exist for no reason. Someone else replied, This universe obviously doesn't exist for no reason. Do you seriously expect to just cease existing when you die? This is the very essence of hubris. We can't conceive that we are meaningless in the vastness of the universe, and there must be more, so our sacred essence won't be lost. Anyways, even if we just cease existing upon death, then it's still a win-win scenario. You either don't cease existing and ascend elsewhere, or your existence was pointless, and we will all just be better off in eternal rest. This is the underlying principle of Pascal's wager. Like all my problems, I ignore it and hope it goes away. I just think that after I die, everything won't matter because I won't know I'm dead and be able to think about things and everything as it exists won't, so it is what it is. I imagine it feels how it did before being born, which is like nothing. It used to bother me but I won't be able to do everything I always wanted if I die early, and now I'm like, so what? Even if I got to do everything in life, when I die I won't remember it as I won't exist, so who cares? And if don't, I won't be thinking about because I'll be dead. I used to be sad about dying. Now I'm perfectly fine with it. NBD. Being dead is the same as stupidity, it's only painful for other people. Seriously though, anything you cannot control, which is pretty much everything except your own reaction, needs to be let go of. This mindset has given me peace more than anything else. Went through years of suicidal depression and shitty times, and now I'm actually okay, mostly at peace with spikes of happiness and sadness, but mostly peace. Our minds and the incessant chatter about things we cannot control are the main cause of our dissatisfaction with life. Everyone needs to take a step back from their thoughts and see what your mind is actually doing. Observe the type of thoughts you have and their purpose, and it soon becomes clear that there isn't much intelligence at play with the involuntary thought processes that occur in the unawares of mind. It's mostly egoic and negative. Everyone knows how powerful the human mind is, but hardly anyone is paying attention to what it's doing 99% of the time. Look at how much depression and anxiety there is in the world. I believe this is why. Unchecked negative thought patterns. So that's how I cope with death and the impending doom. Can I control it? Nope. So spend no time on it at all. My mind would love to play with the notion and get all worked up and cause me anxiety, but once you start checking your mind regularly, these kind of negative thoughts just don't get any traction. It's real, it's helped me. Try it.